Yes, welcome back to The Jump. The guy's still with me. Richard is having paper airplane issues, but we'll get to that later. It's time for our daily spin around the NBA coaching carousel. Let's start with new Celtics head coach Ime Udoka. Take a listen.
We've all talked already. They're excited. I thank them for the kind words they said about me, pushing me, and it was a natural bond with us. Coincidentally, I'm here now. Obviously, thought Brad would be here forever, so it was just a natural connection with those guys that I had, and they're going to allow me to coach them, push them. They know I'm going to be on their ass, and that's what they like about me. They've asked me about that, and so they want to be pushed. They want to be directed towards winning, and you expect that from your stars.
Let's see.
Perk, obviously your ties to the Celtics, not just in the past, but you are on local TV there for broadcasts. Yeah. What do you think of the way Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum can flourish under this new hire?
You know what? I love it because for the simple fact he called them out publicly, right? And not in a bad way, but he's saying, hey, look, I'm going to challenge you guys. We already know that these two young guys are two of the most talented young studs in the NBA, but he's going to challenge them to be leaders, especially Jason Tatum. He has to be more vocal. He has to be more about the team. And I'm not calling them selfish. I'm saying more about just uplifting guys, talking in huddles, just doing little things that leaders do. We already know what type of leader Jaylen Brown is because we saw what he done off the court with the George Floyd situation and how he was, how vocal he is. So I actually love what he did in the press conference. I think the sky's the limit for my Boston Celtics.
For your Boston Celtics. Okay. Look, I completely agree. What I really like about this is I had an opportunity to talk to Brad Stevens earlier in the year when we were doing one of the games, and he said his goal for Tatum and Brown were to be two of the best leaders by the time they turn 27. So they have this game plan. You don't want to put too much on young players. You want to allow them to develop and grow into this. So when I hear Ime talk about this, what I hear is Brad Stevens, and that means that there is a connection from the front office to the coaching staff. And they're like, hey, this is what we've been working on with them, and this is what we're handing it to you. And he's like, yes, I like that plan. I want to echo that plan. I want to continue pushing them. So that just, to me, shows that the Boston Celtics have a good game plan of how they want to move forward with this young core, and I think that's positive for the organization.
Well, I like hearing that he's already having real conversations with these guys, because you guys know the difference between the coach speak, we're all just feeling each other out and getting to know each other, and okay, we can all actually talk. We mentioned your comeback from 3-1 in the NBA Finals. One of the biggest stories kind of from that Game 7 was Ty Lue in the locker room at halftime calling LeBron James and saying, not calling, but calling out. I don't know. Should I say calling out? You were there. I don't know what the most appropriate way to say it is. Challenging him to be better. Yes. And it reminds me of a Monty-ism, because we're covering this series here, and Monty Williams has all these expressions. And he tells players, I'm not calling you out, I'm calling you up. And I think that is genius. It is how I would describe what Ty Lue did to LeBron in halftime of Game 7. It's how I would describe what I'm hearing in Boston right now. And that, to me, is by phrasing it that way and thinking of it that way, right? It's in a way to say, hey, I have confidence in you. I think you can be better, right? But there you go.
Jaylen Brown wasn't at the press conference. He was busy doing other things.
Yeah, well, with Barack Obama is not exactly a bad way to do it. So, yes, talking about leadership right there. I just think that the way a coach frames something, if it's with respect, and it's in all the examples we just talked about, it can be what Monty says. I'm not calling you out. I'm calling you up because I believe you can be better. I believe in you. And I think that approach will really work in Boston. It sounds like it's already starting. Let's talk more about that coaching carousel, though, because it's not done spinning yet. The Pelicans, the Magic, the Wizards, still without head coaches. Richard, let's focus on New Orleans today. What type of coach does that roster, led by Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram, need in order to continue progress with their development?
Well, I actually like what Ime talked about. He wants to develop the young guys. And these are the type of, when you're talking about the Magic organization, that is one of those organizations that is a rebuild. It's a rebuild in a bit of a smaller market that hasn't had a ton of success, even when they had all-stars like
talking about the Pelicans, right?
Oh, I was talking about Orlando.
Oh, go ahead.
I was talking about
Yeah, but
No, but I was saying.
go
that-
ahead, finish. Go ahead.
Are you gonna let me finish?
Yeah, go
okay,
ahead.
listen.
I just
listen.
thought Rachel said the
No,
Pelicans.
she did.
I'm
She
not-
just she's just throwing a lob though. If you want to windmill it or
Yeah.
if you want to lay it
I
up like
can't
you
dunk.
would, that's fine.
That's cool.
So my point, yeah, I know you can't dunk. My
I know
point
you-
is this: when you look at a team that has talent, and then when you look at a team that's rebuilt, that's a rebuild. The Pelicans have a ton of talent. They need to get an established coach in there. If you're not making the postseason next year, in my opinion, when you have an all-star in Brandon Ingram, you have an all-star in Zion Williamson, you have talent around them. I don't know what they're going to do with Lonzo, but ultimately you have talent. If you don't make it to the postseason, so I think you need somebody with coaching experience. I don't think that group is an individual that should have a coach without any head coaching experience, in my opinion.
Well, I think that, I mean, when you look at it, your core guys, your two main products is Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram. Don't know what's going to happen with Lonzo Ball, right? So you need a coach in there that they can relate to, right? And me looking at what's happening right now in the Final Four, the last four teams that's standing, 3 of those guys are former players. So to me, right now what it goes to show me is that former players are getting the most out of their players, right? You look at Nate McMillan, he got the most out of the Hawks. You look at what Ty Lue is doing right now, getting the most out of the Clippers. You look at in the what is this
Take your time.
going
Take your
to
time.
Monty Williams?
Yeah, take your
Monty
time.
Williams.
Take your
Monty
time.
Williams. I already said Ty Lue. Monty
Who are
Williams.
you talking to?
Producer Steve is talking to
Oh,
you.
my bad.
Golly, man. Monty
talking
Williams.
to you. He doesn't
Monty
just talk to you. He
Monty
talks to
Williams
Perk,
is
too.
getting the most out of the Phoenix Suns. So I feel like, can a guy like Sam Cassell get a shot?
Oh,
please?
amen.
Well, y'all know I've been lobbying for Teresa Witherspoon. She's
Yeah.
already in that organization. I'm not just grabbing her name out of the air, right? She has a great connection with the players by all reports from New Orleans. She obviously has the credentials.
got
Talk
game.
about a former player.
Yeah.
And we have seen former players step in, even if they are first-time coaches in that respect at the NBA level. Steve Nash stepped in and did a pretty good job with Brooklyn. I will say, whether it is someone like her, who I think should get an opportunity somewhere, or whether it is someone else, a more experienced NBA coach who has an NBA coaching record, you say, oh, they should make the playoffs next year. They didn't even make the play-in tournament
I
this
know,
year.
and that's
they
why
didn't
the
even
coach,
get to 10th
that's
in the
why their
Western
coach
Conference.
is no longer there.
So there is no question that it's important, though, in two respects. First of all, yes,
No
that's
shot.
why they
That's
need
no
new
shots.
leadership.
That's not shots.
No, but that's
No.
why they need new leadership.
Yeah.
But it also means that that's where the bar is. So even if they just make the play-in bracket, it will be an improvement this year. We'll have to see if someone will get that job and do that. All right, coming up, we're going to talk more about
Because the longer that they get, the more he warms up the ankle, the more he starts to get into the rhythm, the more they'll start to believe. But this is an opportunity for the Bucks to just put them down. He's not 100%, but we'll see in the first 5 minutes. It's hard for us to speculate until you actually start to see him.
No, he's actually hurt. And my advice to Trae Young, just like I gave advice to Kevin Durant and Anthony Davis, you have nothing else to prove, in my opinion. And I think he shouldn't play tonight, to be honest with you, because he's hurt. You know, the Hawks have exceeded expectations, and Trae Young going out there at 50% is not going to help the situation against this Milwaukee Bucks team. So, Trae Young, if you're out there listening, Mr. Young, his dad, hey, sit out for the night.
And
no one is going to look down
that would
on
be
you.
the first time anyone listened to Perk. What I will say, though, is this.
It's feel sorry for their loss.
No, well, the point is, we don't know until we give it a try. We don't know if he's 50%, if he's 70%. We know. All of us can see that ankle and be like, that's going to be sore for a couple of days. I'm not going to sit up here as a Twitter doctor like Perk and say sit out, but you'll know in the first 5-10 minutes.
I don't, as I said, I have not seen the medical report on Trae Young's ankle, but I know Trae Young well enough to know he is going to at least try to give it a go tonight. I don't know if that will even extend to tip-off. He'll just try up in warm-ups, but I can't imagine him just turning around and saying, nah, never mind. So we'll find out if that happens.